So about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, well, about 7 or 8 years ago, they drained the lake. We got all these Obama dollars and drained the lake and took about 800 truckloads of dirt and mud out of the lake and sculpted the bottom of the lake to provide fish habitat, and did some work on the dam so that it overflows the dam a foot earlier than it used to, because when we had a flood, it flooded those houses over there, but now it doesn't flood as high. So we spent about $1.5 million on the lake, fixing the lake up. Well, there was this little island in the middle of the lake with the new level of the water was about a foot higher, even though it drained about a foot earlier than flood stage previously. The lake ended up about a foot higher than it had previously been. So this little tiny island in the middle of the lake was kind of submerged. It was just barely peeking its head out over the water. So I decided that I was going to fix the island up. But I didn't want to be part of a committee. So I just started sneaking out there with bags of topsoil that I bought at Walmart for $1.39. I took about 350 bags of topsoil out to this little island in the middle of the lake. And I walked around the perimeter of the lake until I found all these rocks and concrete slabs and chunks of this and that had been scattered by the bulldozers. And I dragged all those rocks back up around the perimeter of the island, and I built a little dam around the island. And now when I say island, it's only about 15 feet across. It's very, very small. But I put 350 bags of dirt out there, 2-3 bags at a time on a kayak. And then I went and got this bald cypress. The committee that runs the universe had discussions about what they wanted to put on that island, and they had votes, and it was really ridiculous because everybody in the city wanted to do this, they wanted to do that. They were just prepared to argue about it ad infinitum. So they all decided on this one election that they were going to put a weeping willow out there. But they can't put a weeping willow out there because weeping willows don't like to have their feet in the water. They like access to water, but they don't like a whole bunch of water. The only thing you can put out there is either a gum tree or a bald cypress. So I bought the biggest bald cypress I could find. I think I paid about $400 for it, and it had a girth on it about 5 inches when I planted it. And the root ball weighed about 300 or 400 pounds. And I dragged it out to right there, and I dragged it across to the wall. I rolled it, and I made a styrofoam barge, and the styrofoam was covered in this black material that keeps the styrofoam up from coming apart and polluting the water. So I rolled this thing onto the barge, barged it out to the island, dug as deep a hole as I could, and I couldn't dig a deep enough hole because when I got down about 1.5 feet, it was filling up with water. So I rolled the tree off the barge onto the island by myself and rolled this thing up and kind of made it tumble into the hole. And then it was sticking up out of the hole about 1.5 feet because the ball was about 3 feet tall. And so I just mounded it up, brought out more dirt, another 50 bags of dirt. A bag of dirt doesn't go very far when you're trying to make an island. Well, I took care of this tree. A couple of years later, I got on Google and I changed the name of the island because it didn't have a name. You could go on the Google Maps and you wouldn't see a name. It would just be unnamed island. So I changed it to Ryland Island. And Ryland was our child who died at birth 18 years ago. And I didn't tell anybody. I just changed the name of the island unilaterally. That's the best part about not being on a committee. So I took this thing and took it out there, planted it, took care of it, nurtured it, buried a cat out there, planted some pitcher plants, bird houses, and I'd go out there and hang out, and then a fucking beaver ate it. I had it protected from beavers, but not well enough because I didn't realize they could stand up 2 feet tall. So this beaver ate my tree, and I was despondent. But before the beaver ate it, a couple of nosy, busybody, miserable people from Pine Lake decided that they didn't like the fact that I'd changed the name to Ryland Island. Who does he think he is, unilaterally changing the name to Ryland Island? Who's Ryland anyway? And why does he, and so they petitioned Google to unname it Ryland Island, which Google, okay, no more Ryland Island. Well, I just thought, you're a miserable piece of shit if you got so much time on your hands that you're gonna, that's your cause. So I was pretty much disgusted by the whole thing, and I thought about putting another tree out there, but then I thought, the whole thing's been sullied. I put so much love into it. I put so much money into it. I got $1,000 on that stupid island. I didn't do anything about it. And the stump got old and withered and gray. And so for the past 2 years, there hasn't been a tree on that island. So it's Christmas morning. Stephanie puts a blindfold on me, and Olive, they put a blindfold on me, and they bring me down to the island. Stephanie called a guy who knew somebody, and they got some kids in the boat. 4 guys came out here last week. They planted a huge bald cypress on my island. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Can't zoom out. I'll post some photos to go along with this, but that is a bow on my bald cypress, which is about 10, 12 feet tall on this little island. Best Christmas ever. Best Christmas ever. Never thought this was coming. Couldn't even imagine something this wonderful. So now I'm unapologetically referring to it as Ryland Island, and the naysayers can kiss my butt. I'm the mayor of Ryland Island. Man, I just won the wife lottery. Merry Christmas, everybody.